Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey. I am Rev Gina and I am blessed to be here with you today and have an amazing guest that is so much fun and just pure light. Finding the joy in the journey is about exactly what it says. Being here and now, recognizing that everything we need is within us, that we were born with it, and it is our birthright to be experiencing it. Too often in our life, we look at the external and we get distracted. And we think, well, when I have enough money, then I'll be happy. When I have that house or when I have that car, when I'm in the right job, when I find the right mate, then I'll be happy. It's not about what we own, where we live. It's not about the stuff. It's about how we're experiencing our life. Each one is an individualized expression of divine. And when we know that, when we really know that, it gives us a fresh set of eyes. We get to choose what we look at and how we receive it. We get to choose the meaning of everything and how important it is in our lives. So this show is an opportunity to find new ways to experience joy now, not destination happiness, which is what I call it, when I get there. There is no there. There's only here, and there's only ever here and now. So we are going to experience more joy right here, right now. And every guest that I have is someone that I see and experience joy with. So it is somebody that can help us find new ways in what they do, what they say, how they live. And today's guest is definitely no exception. Reverend Laura Topper is my guest today, and I am so grateful. I'm blessed to call her a friend, not just someone I went to ministerial school with, but someone that I call and we share via Zoom. We share a cup of tea very often, and we get the opportunity to really connect at the soul level. And this amazing individual, many of you know from her shows that she had here on this network, and she is continuing her work, Women of Power, as a movement. Although she may not be on the shows, you can still catch them, I'm sure, on whether you go to New Thought Media Network on YouTube or you check it out online. But she's now doing it as a movement in different ways. She inspires me and so many. She's a beautiful musician. She has a gorgeous voice, and I encourage you to check her out on YouTube for that as well. But her heart is just pure love, and she radiates that love in a unique way. So it is a blessing to bring in Reverend Laura Topper with us this morning.
Oh,
Well, good
Gina.
afternoon, actually. And for you, it's good evening. So it's all, wherever you are in the world, we just covered it all.
It's all one.
It absolutely is. How are you today? Welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come on to your incredible broadcast, your show, and be here to talk about finding the joy in the journey, because I think this is the reason why I do what I do, and I'm sure for you, having this show allows you, as it allows me to really then contemplate, well, what is this journey really all about? If it's not about joy in the moment and being willing to come back to that knowing of joy, what is it all about really? So thank you for inviting me on, Reverend Gina. I'm excited to be here and to share with you and to be in your light. I love everything that you're doing and what you're bringing to the world through you. I'm so, you are my inspiration.
You're very sweet.
It's the Reverend Gina fan club here.
Too often in life, people have a negative outlook or think, oh, the world's going to whatever. And the truth is, we have opportunities every day to do something, to be the change that we wish to see in the world. And there are a lot of people that gripe about all kinds of things and do nothing. And then there are those like yourself that you do what you're called to do when you're called to do it. I know you're still here. Science of Mind Conversations on Saturday mornings. People can still find you on the network. And I know, you have done so much for so many in different ways and continue to do that. And, I appreciate that. And we're going to start with your new initiative, or what you're doing in Africa, because now, of course, Women of Power is a movement. It's not anything. Some could call it a ministry, but you are really making a difference in people's lives on a continent that you've never even been to. You
I
get
know.
to do that. I'm working with Barbados, and it's wonderful. And we don't have to be there to be one and to do and make a difference. But I want to hear all about what is it that you're doing. And I know people can find you via Facebook, but tell us about it.
Well, the incredible thing is, it's amazing when I let go and don't have so much of a plan to how something should look or what I'm doing, and allow spirit to move through me and to open up to what it is. All I remember, all I know is that in 2017, when we had the Science of Mind UK conference here in the UK, and me and Jason were performing at that conference, which was in Bournemouth. And one of the lead guests was Reverend Edwin Gaines. And she stood up on the stage, and her presence could be felt everywhere. I mean, what an incredible light, her whole beingness. And she stood there and she said, "I am Reverend Edwin Gaines, and I am a woman of power." And the room was silent anyway. And yet it was like that extra depth of, you could hear a pin drop. Because as she said it, the ripple of that, I felt that in my heart. I felt, wow, yes, I'm now standing up to attention here, and I'm listening to this incredible individual with her story that she shared of how she really did go from rags to riches by using these teachings. And this was before technology and internet and social media and everything that we're used to right now. So she did this with the power of her heart and her mind as a minister and as a practitioner, knowing how these teachings can work. That really landed in my heart when she said that. And I realized that from my own story, with especially with my daughter and the journey, that amazing healing adventure, that, yeah, we're all women of power. Even if we don't identify as women, we are powerful beings, and it's up to us individually to claim that. She claimed it on that stage. And she says that if you listen to her on YouTube, you're going to hear her say, "I am Reverend Edwin Gaines, and I'm a woman of power." And I believe she's saying that to spark something in each of us to recognize and realize the power that we are and how we can use this power that is totally available at all times. So I started to create a group, and it wasn't called the Women of Power group. What happened was, though, I made a song. I wrote a song. Me and Jason wrote the song Women of Power. In fact, I didn't give you the link for that today, and you were on that dancing. During COVID, I said to Jason,
"It was fabulous.
Oh my
God, it was
God.
so much fun."
And I said, "Right, we've got this song. It's COVID. We're in this situation. I really want to invite my friends from around the world to dance on this track." And that's what happened. And we edited it and made it into kind of a video movie. And from there, the Women of Power kind of idea came through to continue with that and to create it as a portal, I suppose, as a ministry, as a movement, as a social initiative for those around the world who maybe don't, as I didn't believe that in myself at that time. I didn't believe I was a woman of power. It took the click within me going through a healing process with my daughter to realize that, you know, we each have this power to heal also ourselves during these times of upset and division and conflict with our loved ones and our children. So the Women of Power movement really started here in the UK, and then that's okay. And then I was approached by somebody in Africa who has a women's community, and they approached me and said, would I please come and share what I know with them? And so I do.
The Women of Power link, just as that's the link for Women of Power.
Is that the song Women of Power?
This is actually, yes.
Yeah.
But I also want to just say that people can go to that. Just type in your name on YouTube and it'll pull it up too.
It'll come up.
And you can't not dance to it. I encourage people.
It's one of those.
Sorry.
So yes, so I am kind of sharing and guiding a group along with Christine Kamasi, who's a practitioner in Kenya also. And we meet every week and we share and we teach and we learn. I'm learning a lot, you know, so much about their beautiful community and also the challenges and struggles that they are experiencing. And from there, it's evolving and unfolding in a really powerful way, because that's where my heart lies. I was talking with someone earlier about, you know, having a vision. And the vision, if the vision is infused with a yearning inside of us, I'm sure you can experience this passion, because it's something that really is a calling and it means something. As Michael Beckwith says, you know, the passion pulls you until the passion pushes you until the vision pushes you until.
Spirit,
anyway,
I think it's spirit
pulls you until spirit pulls you. So I would say for anybody that has a passion and a vision, that this brings me joy. This is joy. You know,
that's how you know. It doesn't matter if it's a long, you know, if it doesn't matter if it's a longer, you know, tedious, or if it's difficult. You know, work is something that everybody has a different concept of, but it doesn't mean it's easy, but it does mean it's joyful. You enjoy what you're doing, so it doesn't feel like work. And you may be tired at the end of the day, but you're fulfilled. You're fulfilled. You are filled and fulfilled by what you're doing. So it's not depleting. It may be, you can be tired, but not depleted. And that's the difference. Is our society is often caught up in bigger, better, faster, more.
Oh.
And it's trying to catch up and keep up. Whereas when we're doing something that we have a passion for, that we love, that we know we're called to do, that we have a belief in, it doesn't deplete us. It's different.
Yes. And a couple of things on that. I believe that something incredible happens when we have a vision, or a calling or a desire. I'm not even going to call it a vision, because that can sound quite grand and overwhelming. When we have a desire to change something, transform something, to do something, we often believe that we can believe that by having that vision and having yeses along the way of the steps of this journey, that it will unfold smoothly. And what I've come to realize is that we are meant to have the challenges and the obstacles so that we can grow into that greater vessel of the container. We can expand our container so that we can then be of service more fully. Because if we want a change, if we desire a change, as Einstein said, we can't change something and keep doing the same thing in the same way if we want a different result. So if we have these dreams and these desires and these wishes and visions, then we're going to have to expect to be changed. And that is very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
Yes, it is. And it's that's what growing pains are all about, though.
That's it.
We're not meant to stay in the same place. And you hear people often say, as a life coach, one of the things that used to frustrate me the most was hearing people say, same crap, different day. Well, it is until you change it.
Yes.
If you do the same thing, it's going to be the same thing. But if you are aware enough to know that this didn't make me happy yesterday, it didn't make me happy the day before that either, it's not going to do it today or tomorrow. We have choices with everything we say, do, with what we watch on television, what we participate in, the people we surround ourselves in, the books that we read, even the websites that we go to or don't go to. We have choices, even on Facebook. If there's somebody on that's always doing political things, I click. I don't need to, either way, I don't need to. There's no sides here. If all you're going to be posting is about political, I don't need it. It doesn't lift me in any way for you to show me division. And I get the opportunity to choose, is this good for me? Is it bringing up something good or not? And if not, I can pause them for 30 days and make a decision then. I don't have to be in a place of being bombarded by what doesn't lift me.
And I think that the piece in there also is we have a choice into what we say to ourselves.
Yes.
Self-talk.
Pay attention to it.
Paying attention, because the self-talk is the subconscious mind.
Yes.
That's the part where we want to go and do something, or we have this dream, we have this desire, we feel excited, and then the inner critic, or that little voice there is going to say, who do you think you are? You can't do that. That will never happen. Well, there's an opportunity to do the revealing work around that and the forgiveness, rather than even just putting it aside and saying thank you, but no thank you. To actually listen to that.
Yes.
And take note of it and do the belief work, do the work around those beliefs, because that's just an old story playing out. That's just an old idea. And when we want to make a change for our lives, then we get this opportunity to look at those old ideas and to decide whether we're going to choose to still live into them or not. And I think in that is joy. Because it's very empowering.
It is when we realize it. Sometimes they play in the background. And if your life is too busy, you're not noticing.
You're not noticing.
That happened to me for years, that I did. The denial was so deep. The denial was so deep that I didn't even know I was playing these tapes, but things weren't happening and I didn't know why.
Right.
And sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. And we can go to a practitioner. That's one of the gifts, is that we know scientific prayer works, and it's affirmative prayer. We do it every morning and afternoon on this network. We do in 8 a.m. and p.m. Mountain Time. It's called treatment or affirmative prayer. And if you've never tried it, I encourage you to find out more about it, because it's going to the truth of things. You don't have to even know all the other stuff. Just claim the truth that you choose, as opposed to trying to get to we don't even have to get to the root cause of. We just know truth, and it dissolves the weeds of doubt, fear, insecurity. It dissolves that negative stuff because we're making a conscious choice of what we want.
And like everything, it takes practice. And I believe that joy is a practice.
Absolutely.
Because it's our own individual personal responsibility to stay in that knowing and to stay in that place. And then if something comes up that interrupts it, lovingly question it, lovingly look at it, and lovingly ask myself, how can I transform this right here and now? And it doesn't have to be difficult. It's just, as you're saying, it's having that understanding and the certain level of awareness, being self-aware.
What do I choose instead? And it's spending more time looking at what I choose than what I don't want. And that's one of the things we all get stuck on. Why don't I have enough? Why don't I have enough? Why don't I have enough? We're attracting more lack.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done, especially with physical health. When your toe hurts, it's hard to say, to not think about your toe. If you have a headache, it's a challenge, not, so it's not to say that it's easy, but it's simple. And it's learning the practices that help us to do that, which is what we do. I mean, we're a New Thought Media Network. We're about new thoughts, and we're about, really being in a place of, religious scientists know, because we are in a place of truth. We live from a place of knowing versus what we see, which is often a distraction.
And that is not an easy thing to do, because we're living in a physical world that's telling us the opposite, or it's telling us how it is, but it's the opposite of what we truly want or desire. So it's about staying and knowing the truth, and then knowing that this out here is all changeable. In fact, there's no out here. It's all changeable. In any moment, it can change, and being open for those new possibilities.
Being in it, but not of it.
Yes. And I think in relationships, this is really important, especially as I'm working with women of power, and noticing myself also, my own personal journey of my experience with my daughter, and the relationship, the communication around our relationship, how easy it can be to get into patterns with our children that can almost sabotage, or even with our parents. We hold on to these beliefs and these ideas for many, many years. And as you said, we're not always aware of them until we need to be, or want to be aware of them, and want to change want to change our lives. So it means looking at these patterns and beliefs and changing the relationship from that point of view, rather than trying to change another.
And on that note, I want to bring up something else that you're doing that is very exciting. You have a wonderful masterclass that you are offering people for free. And that's exciting. A mother-daughter healing. Tell us about that.
I'm just really drawn to this because it was and is my experience of healing in the relationship with my daughter as a 17, 18-year-old daughter, and me as her mother. So that relationship is now healed, and many things I did, many practices, many dark night of the soul moments, healings, revealings for 2 years. And I realized it wasn't about my daughter at all. It was about me, of course. And so when I changed, something changed within me, the relationship with her changed, without me even having to do anything to make that happen in terms of reaching out to her. And it was, anybody hearing my story would think it was a miracle, but it wasn't a miracle. It was how life works. And I think I can get into these places sometimes where I think that if something happens that feels miraculous, that's extraordinary. And it isn't. That's how life works.
It's
And when
supposed
I
to
know
all be miracles. We
all of
all
it,
have every day there's miracles in motion. We see it all the time. We
all
take
the
them for
time.
granted, but we see it all the time. We see babies take their first step. We see butterflies. They used to be caterpillars. We see things that we couldn't possibly make happen. Even the tides that change. We don't do that. There are miracles all around us at every moment of the
All
day.
around us.
And the question is if the universe can do that, what is my petty little whatever, whether it's a bill or whether it's a personal, situation or whatever's going on in our lives, the universe has the power to heal and create anything. And when we rest into that knowing, when we feel it, when we really embody it and embrace it, that's the everyday miracle.
And also the challenge there sometimes can be am I really, am I really the micro of this divine? Have I really got this same power? Am I really able to use this power? And the answer is yes. Because when we use it intentionally, and that's the key here, intentionally every day, doing the practices, as you talked about, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, forgiveness, seeing ourselves in a new light, releasing and dissolving the old story that has such a grip on us in ways we cannot even imagine.
Well, this particular workshop you're talking about, it's for mothers, and it's learning how to be different. It's how to experience in a new way and create the relationships that we choose as opposed to what we were taught before us. Everybody has mother-daughter relationships, and we come into it with the results of their mother-daughter relationships in our ancestors past. And some of those may have been healthy and some of them may have been toxic.
That's it.
So we can consciously choose what we create, but it takes being conscious in the moment and recognizing it, and not being, well, they did this to me. Well, there's a circumstance here. Like you said, when you changed, everything changed.
Everything.
It wasn't that you changed her, but
no.
yet it was shifted.
It shifted completely. And, we have to go back to the womb. This is the place. We have to do the healing in the womb because the womb it holds that energy of creation for our lives, of where I was created in the womb, where you were created in the womb, where our children are created, where our mothers were created. And there are stories in that as well. Very powerful stories that get passed through and on to us. And we don't even know that we're passing those stories on to our children.
Everything's energy. And
all of it.
We know that everything is energy. So why wouldn't that energy pass on to what we've brought into the world or who's brought us into the world? That energy is, we're created of the ones that came before us, and our ancestry pain and our ancestors, angst or habits or whatever it may be. You can even call it mass consciousness. When we think of that, it's all part of the energy that came before us. And we can either be affected by it and live under it without realizing it, or we can consciously shift it. And when we watch positive things, we're consciously shifting it. When we read positive books, when we learn, different ways of doing things, and we live differently, that energy shifts. And we get the opportunity to heal on a cellular level. And it's not what we see. Unfortunately, we live in a world that, when I see it, I'll believe it. When the truth really is, it's when you believe it that you see it. It's really about that belief behind it.
Yes. And it can be, I think it can be quite uncomfortable to think of our lives and this is something that I choose to do more and more, to think of my life as an experiment. That the whole thing is an experiment, because that stops me from taking things personally. And it allows me to see, okay, if this isn't working the way I think it needs to be working, if the outer conditions of my life are not really running smoothly in a way, whether it's with relationships or my husband or my work or money or friendships, if there are blocks there, then that's life telling me, oh, Laura, you need to readjust something. Let's experiment. And let's use these beautiful tools that we have and practices and delve in and try something different. Try a different prayer practice. Try a different forgiveness practice. There are so many of them. And it doesn't mean that what we've learned, if we learn a certain prayer forgiveness practice, there might be another one. And we can choose something different. You know, even reading one of your amazing poems, that can shift something so dynamically. It's about being willing to experiment here and not thinking that because our life may suck in certain areas, this is the joy of it. This is the joy of it. When I was homeless, you know, Reverend Johanna said to me, Laura, this too is God expressing. And I was on the phone and I was just like, okay.
You wanted to swear at her at the moment, right?
Hey.
This is what you got for me, right?
This too is God expressing. She was loving and beautiful, and I said that thousands and thousands and thousands of times in situations where I felt I don't believe this, and yet I'm going to believe it. I'm going to say it. And I said it over and over and over for months. I still say it because it normalized things for me. It stopped me judging the situation.
Because that only gets us further, you know, deeper entrenched in it.
Exactly. That gets us entrenched when we're putting a meaning on it. This is good. This is bad. This is right. This is wrong. This should be happening. This shouldn't be happening.
It's just the room we're walking through.
Exactly. This too is God expressing. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That's interesting.
And we are creatures of habit.
We are.
Many of us, we can get caught in that same old of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not easy, but it's simple. You know, the people say, well, why do they get all of that? And, you know, and others don't. You know, the comment of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You know, if you keep doing and you would keep expecting, nothing's changed. You know, the rain falls on the just and the unjust. So it's the same power that is using. They expect to get more, they get more. You expect to get less, you'll get less. So when the consciousness changes of it's mine and I accept it now, and we can start opening our minds, our hearts with worthiness and really knowing it and expectation, that things start to shift.
And that's really interesting what you're saying, because, you know, I know this expression, comparison is the thief of all joy. When we compare, I
saw that just this week. I was looking at that this week.
And when I've known it for a while, and when we compare ourselves to another and we think that, oh, why, like you've just said, why are they? Well, there is no they, because we're all one anyway. And why is that person, it seems like they've achieved this or they have this, and why haven't I got that? And I want that. And it's like, oh my gosh, all that self-talk. And it's kind of like, well, how do we know what another is really going through, or what they've struggled through for that to happen, or whether they're in debt and they're giving a facade that it all looks good, or they might have credit cards stacked up, you know, to the hilt. So everyone's got a story.
Yes.
And we don't know what is in anybody else's consciousness. We can only take responsibility for ourselves. And that comes back to, that's where the joy is. Because when we stop looking at others and comparing, we can take charge of our own lives really fully. that's where these teachings are so powerful, especially with affirmative spiritual mind treatment. By using
you've brought a song that you want to share, and I'd love for you to talk about it. I know.
Oh gosh,
it's a poem that's been put into a song. So if you can tell us, what is this?
Okay, so Khalil Gibran, I'm hoping that I've pronounced his name right, but he did write The Prophet and many short poems on marriage, on love, on relationship, on work, on children. And a few years ago, I was in a choir, quite a big choir, and we sang this song and presented it in a like at a festival. And it was so beautiful. They were like, it was 6-part choir, and it was just the most beautiful thing to sing this song. My daughter at that time was probably about 14 or 13, and it really moved me. And then I found it as a song here. So I just thought it would be beautiful to share for anybody that might be feeling just any pain or upset or grieving or guilt or shame around a relationship with your child. This song just affirmed a lot to me, that they come through us. They don't belong to us. Very powerful.
So here we go.
Yeah.
And though they are with you, they belong not to your children. Are not your children. They are the sons and the daughters of life, longing for itself. They come through you, but they are not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. You can give them your love, but not your thoughts. They have their own thoughts. They have their own thoughts. You can house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in a place of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You can strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you. Strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and the daughters of life, longing for itself. They come through you, but they are not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. You can give them your love, but not your thoughts. They have their own thoughts. They have their own thoughts. You can house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in a place of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You can strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you. Strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you.
Thank you for playing that.
So beautiful.
So beautiful. So powerful.
Yes. And it's important that we remember, that sacred. We make a bond with our children. We make we have chosen, or spirit has chosen, and they have chosen.
Yeah.
And there is a sacred bond there. And it doesn't have to be blood. That's the most beautiful part of all. My daughters are, they're technically my stepdaughters, but I never call them that because, at this point I've spent more of their life with them than without them. They were 6 and 9, and next week one will be 30 and the other one just turned 33.
Wow.
So they're my daughters. There's no question there. And we make a pact of being there to be there. And it's not always easy to see them make what seems like mistakes,
No.
or see them hurt, or see them take their own choices that we think are not necessarily the ones we want for them.
Yeah.
And knowing that sometimes the wrong road, or what we would perceive that way, is exactly what it's meant to be.
Yes.
It's a gift when we realize that, and it's not always, because we have egos, and we come from a place of love, and at the same time we want to try to protect them.
That's
But
the thing.
and it comes a point that it's not ours to do. We have to give them back to the universe and understand that they make their own way. What may seem good, bad, or indifferent, they get their life like we get ours.
And they get their choices as we get ours. And we do have that mothering, we're the mothers, the nurturers, overprotective. And, it's like learning to be that without necessarily being that. Learning to be it with awareness and with mindfulness, and then detaching and letting go from the outcome. That's the piece. And yeah, there are so many times when I could see, like, oh my gosh, if you do that and that and that, then that might happen. And I want to stop you, and I couldn't. Because
and it's not easy, but it's as easy as we allow it to be.
Yeah.
It's part of the surrender. It's part of loving is, the bird pushes the other, these little chicks out of the nest. And it's like, you think, oh, but what if they can't fly? And that's how they learn to fly.
And that's how they learn to fly. And then what was I doing when I was, 18?
Yeah, I always joke with my husband, because I'm like, I was a good kid. I don't know what I said. I don't understand. He's like, yeah, you're paying for me. So, and that's okay too. It is what it is, but sometimes the biggest, you can do what you think is all the right things.
Yes.
And their path is not your path. And it's understanding that. And that's everyone in life, because we have friends, we have family, we have people that we know, and everybody has advice. It's free. Everybody's got it. It doesn't mean that it's asked for, and it doesn't mean that it always should be given either.
And it doesn't mean that we always need to take that advice on board, because when we have an open channel within our hearts with the divine, there's something greater than advice going on. There's a knowing that we can have trust and faith that it is all okay and it is all divinely unfolding. And I think that's a big piece that's left out of a lot of, coaching and therapy work, unless maybe with spiritual psychology, it would go to that degree. But it's a remembering of knowing who we are and whose we are. I watched a video. I've actually watched it quite regularly because it reminds me. It's the sperm meeting the egg. It's on YouTube. It's the most incredible video. It's like a 3D video of what happens when 70 billion sperm and the one reaches the egg. When I first saw that, of course I know it, but seeing it was like, oh my gosh, the journey it had to go on. It was really like, and realizing that we are all divinely ordained. We're divinely here. And so if I think my daughter's doing something that's wrong, then I get to find the joy in knowing that I have the opportunity to trust that if her journey here was by, getting to that egg, that was hard. That was a hard journey.
There's no accident.
There's no
You're
accident.
exactly. Each one of us is exactly where we're meant to be,
Exactly.
and all is well. Whether it looks like it or not,
not.
all is well. You know,
Yeah.
it's so important. And if we don't like where we are, we get to change it. And on that note, I wanted to, before, because it is Holy Week, and you know, for those of you that are watching us live, if you're, you know, it's Holy Week, and yesterday was the beginning, last night was the beginning of Passover, and I'd love for you to share what is the metaphysical meaning of Passover.
So Passover really is about coming into a new land, the promised land, you know, walking for 40 days and 40 nights with no flour. And so we eat matzah, which is unleavened bread, to symbolize and to kind of honor that. And it really is the honoring of a journey out of Egypt and into Israel, the journey of freedom, the journey of new beginnings and new life, even with all of the challenges along the way. So really in a kind of contained and condensed few sentences, that really is what Passover is about. So we recognize it once a year, and it's normally around the same time as Easter.
It's always the same week.
Yeah. So I love that, because Easter is a journey as well of new birth, new beginnings, and honoring.
And Charles Fillmore from the Metaphysical Dictionary, the Revealing Word, said, Easter is the awakening and raising to spiritual consciousness of the I am in man and woman, which has been died in trespasses and sins and buried in the tomb of materiality. So when you think about that, and of course the symbol of Jesus having, you know, died and risen, you know, he was the original I am presence, that he told us, you know, there's the Father within me that does the work. You know, he taught us of that I am within us. And that's what we strive for, is that Christ consciousness. So, you know, that in our trespasses and sins and buried in the tomb of materiality. And we know that there is no sin, that, you know, sin is missing the mark. But there's something within us when we've done things that we don't feel good about, you know, when we've missed that mark, or that, you know, getting caught up in the stuff of life, not just greed, but bogged down by what we see. So it's learning how to rise above and not be entrapped by the physical world, in it, but not of it.
Yeah. And being the loving presence in it, you know, how we be in it, how we act, how we set our intention forth, how we are when we see the news and realize that we can absolutely send and know love for the situation, whatever it is that's going on around the world, because some of it feels horrific.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not to be ignored and denied, because it is happening. And it's how I am with it when I read it in the newspapers, when I glance past it on the shelves, see it on the news, hear it on social media.
It's being in that place of I love you and sending it love and light. And, you know, often when things are overwhelming to me and I want to help in a situation that's not mine, that it's nothing I can do, I picture the divine hands of spirit. And whether you call it universe, whether you call it love, whatever you call it, but I picture those divine hands. I have a pair of plaster, you know, hands, ceramic hands that are on my altar. And basically I envision those as the hands of divine. And whatever the circumstance or people or loved ones or whatever it may be, I visualize myself putting it in divine hands, recognizing that I surrender this thought, this person, this circumstance, because I of myself have no power in this, but the divine power does.
Yeah.
So it's for me, it's a visual to be, because I'm a very visual person, to really be able to give it over to spirit. And when I do that, I sleep better, I act better, I feel better, because I am not trying to carry something that I can do nothing of. If anything, when I worry, I cause more of it. It's a magnet, being a winner.
Yeah, of course. And if we think about Easter, I don't know how much more time we have, but I just wanted to add on here. If we think about Easter, and the egg breaking free and the chick coming out, and it's, we are bursting free into a new world view, a new paradigm right now of living and being, and how we are with each other and how we accept each other or not. And we're being pushed. We talked about that at the beginning. We're being pushed by love, to be the loving presence now in this new way of being more fully. And the more of us that wake up to this and intentionally love as a verb, we're going to see our world changed in the most beautiful of ways, where we can mother ourselves, mother each other, mother our children in ways where we don't have to be like helicoptering, but we're there as the presence of love, and it can be felt so powerfully. We can all own this, women, men, they, whatever gender we identify as, whoever we are. Love is totally there, and it's unchangeable and indestructible. And that brings me joy.
The power, it's just such power that we have within us, and knowing that, truly all is well and getting better. And it's being in that place of expectancy that even though I don't see it, there's good here too. There's good here too, as Mary Baker Eddy would say, there is, and I demand to see it. And there, there is, because I don't care what happens. There's always, whatever one person may do, there are hundreds or thousands that come forth to show and shine love on it, and that's who we really are. Not that one, but the hundreds or thousands that come after. So it's remembering that there is a greater pull for each one of us. And we are running out of time, and it, just always moves so fast. And I want to make sure people, this is your email address. They can get a hold of you. And just want to make sure that they know that, this was the video. Is this the video?
I think that was a quote of the video of the poem. Yes.
Okay. And
that's my website for the moment. It will be a different, but you can go there and see Women of Power. If you're watching right now, you can go there and see it.
And this is to sign up.
That's to sign up for the Mother-Daughter Healing on Saturday.
And it's also, the link is as a link in the description below.
Yes.
So,
Thank you. Thank you.
So just, really knowing that all is well and getting better, that we get this opportunity to be that change we wish to see. And I can't wait to hear about all the wonderful things that you're doing in Africa. And I know you do one-on-one individual coaching. So I want to make sure that I make sure people know that they can reach out to you directly. That's part of why we had your email up there, because you do coaching anywhere in the world, so people can reach you. I wanted to make sure people know that they can reach me as well. They can go to my either Gina at cslboston.org. That's .org, or Gina at believeInYouToday.com. And you can reach out to me. And I would love to hear anything from show ideas to comments. Please know we'd love to hear from you. And we are so grateful that you are here. Also, watching this live, we have the Greater Boston, CSL Greater Boston has Sacred Circle at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight with Reverend Catherine Mastriani, who is amazing. So it is going to be a wonderful evening of conversation. Know that you can go to our Facebook page for the link, or you can use the Zoom meeting ID or passcode right there. But every Thursday, CSL Greater Boston offers that. And we are live on this network with our Sunday celebration every Sunday at 5 p.m. So you're welcome to join our loving community anytime. We'd love to have you. And Reverend Laura, I am so grateful to have you here today. And I, as we go into continue this holy week, may everything sacred be upon your path. Thank you so much for shining your light in the world the way that you do. You are absolutely a gift. Thank you so much.
Oh, Reverend Gina, thank you for inviting me here today and to be with you. And thank you for all that you are and all that you be. It's exciting. And I feel really grateful to be in this conversation, reminding me of the joy in the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that workshop that you have this weekend sounds absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to hear more about it. All that you're doing is wonderful. So, whatever people, wherever you are, know that there's a heart call within you. And when you follow it, when you live it, that's where the joy is. So whatever is meant for you must come to you. And I encourage you to just go for that. Whatever brings you joy, live in that. Yeah. And until next week, I'm wishing you all of the joy in the journey. Blessings and love. Namaste.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.